The much-anticipated re-entry of Porsche into Formula One is finally on the horizon, as the Volkswagen Group has given a green signal to Porsche's comeback in 2026, the year the FIA has decided to introduce massive changes to the current setup. What are the factors behind the thought process of the group's decision? Join us in today's video to find out. Porsche is back. Rumors about Porsche's return to FI have been circulating for quite a while. Now, all the ifs and buts are completely sidelined, and the officials at the Volkswagen Group have finally confirmed the big news. At the core of the decision is money, as is the case with every business. The popularity of F1 has gone through the roof, especially because of the intense battle in the 2021 championship between the 7-time world champion Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen, who finally broke Mercedes' winning streak. And since Liberty Media's takeover, F1 has reached great heights, especially with the investment made in Drive to Survive Netflix series, which has attracted many new fans to the sport. There are now cities waiting in line with a hefty amount of money to host a Grand Prix, and the FIA has already added more cities to the calendar and will continue to do so. This is great news for investors, and seems to be a perfect time for the VW Group to be back in the sport after over 30 years. Considering all these things and the upcoming new engine regulations in the 2026 season, the VW Group thinks that it is the perfect time to re-enter and take advantage of the opportunity. Talking about the decision, Volkswagen Chief Executive Herbert Diess said, "You just run out of arguments. You can only get on board if you have a major rule change." And the major rule change will be introduced in the 2026 season, which will allow teams to develop a new engine quicker than it would otherwise have taken them in the current framework. And as he went on to say, that means you can decide now to do Formula One, or then probably not again for 10 years. And our two premium brands think that's the right thing to do and are prioritizing it. They are also finalizing discussions to appoint Adam Baker, who has served as the FIA's safety director for the past 3 years, to head motorsport strategy to determine the feasibility of Formula One entry. New engine regulations. The new rules would also help Porsche because it aligns with its vision of sustainability moving forward. It is already a part of the all-electric racing series Formula E, but the popularity of F1 outshadows other such leagues. It is already a part of the FIA's engine working group, according to Tom Clarkson, Car Magazine F1 correspondent, and turns up to meetings full of ideas. It's likely that the amount of electric power will be doubled for 2025, which Porsche is keen on. The new regulations would make engines simpler by removing the motor generator unit heat element from the current installed V6 turbo hybrids, making them a lot cheaper. Vice President of Motorsport at Porsche, Thomas Laudenbach, also quoted by Motorsports magazine, said, "A lot of things are going in the right direction concerning F1. It is clear you cannot go forward with a battery electric vehicle. We all know that. But there needs to be a much higher priority on the electric part of the powertrain. That is important because as an OEM, if you want to show yourself in motorsport, it has to be relevant to what you have on the road." Budget cap. One issue that new entrants or old ones trying to re-enter the sport was their inability to compete with the established teams, as they had complete freedom to spend as much as they wanted to make their cars so good that other teams would not even think about competing with them based on performance. But now, as the FIA has introduced a budget cap of $145 million per team, set to reduce it further by $10 million in 2023, allowing other teams some level playing field and investors an ability to know what they are getting themselves into. The cost would also be reduced as the new regulations will get rid of the most expensive and complex component, which is a part of the current setup of engines. History of Porsche in Formula One. Previously, they returned as a constructor in Formula One in the 1950s, but entered the championship races as a constructor in 1960. The lack of success pushed them out of F1 in 1964, and they remained outside the sport for 20 years. In the 1980s, they made their comeback, and this time, they were an engine supplier for McLaren. This time, their collaboration proved to be very successful, as they won 2 titles and finished second in the championship 2 times. Their stint came to an end in 1987, after which they again tried to collaborate with Arrows in the year 1991, which proved to be disastrous. The successful collaboration with McLaren might hold enough weight for them to again align themselves with one of the current teams in Formula One, and that team could very well be Red Bull. they would want to break the monopoly of Mercedes, because it has not had any rivals ever since BMW left Formula One in 2009. Mercedes and Porsche are fierce rivals, and them bringing this rivalry into the sport would be very interesting for the fans to watch, especially if they joined hands with Red Bull. Collaboration with Red Bull. Rumors are also rife that they might join hands with Team Red Bull to jumpstart their journey again in F1, especially with the presence of the world champion Max Verstappen on their team. Volkswagen has worked with Red Bull in the World of Rally Championship and has been linked with them for quite some time. Talking about the Porsche and Red Bull link-up, Christian Navarvol of Motorsport.com said, "Sources have indicated that talks between Red Bull and Porsche are now so advanced that any deal only requires approval from the supervisory body within the VW Group." Red Bull Motorsport consultant Helmut Marko and fellow Austrian Fritz Inziger, Volkswagen Group head of motorsport, are believed to have been instrumented in drafting the partnership. Figures from Red Bull and Porsche have remained tight-lipped on negotiations, as Honda has decided to quit Formula One entirely, and Red Bull has acquired all the intellectual property from them. It would be an obvious route to the top for them in the sport. However, Porsche has also shown interest in a full package deal including cars, engines, and teams. Either way, as Chris Perkins of Road and Track wrote, Audi and Porsche entering F1 as either engine suppliers or as work teams seems a lot more appealing to the executives who'd approve such efforts. There will not be a better time than now for the VW Group to enter Formula One. From its popularity to new engine regulations and budget cost caps, Porsche's return and Audi's debut are in the offing. Their commitment to sustainability is also in alignment with the direction of the sport. It is already part of other racing leagues and is keeping a close connection with the FIA and current teams in Formula One. So the 2026 season will be massive for the sport and the fans alike.